Although it hasn't quite started snowing yet, this is Minnesota and I know it's coming soon. So I got to turn my summer mowing rig back into a snow removal rig. And today I'm going to show you just how to do that. This is what we'll be installing today. This is a John Deere Model 39 snow thrower. This is a single stage snow blower, which means that it just has the one auger turning one way to throw the snow. This snow thrower has the long chute. These do come with a shorter chute as well. I have one of those that I can show you in a little bit. This one is completely stock. It's got the original pulleys on it and no modifications. That might change soon, so hit that subscribe button if you want to see some modifications done to one of these. But they do work pretty well in their stock form, so we're going to get this on. I'll show you how to do that right now. Here's my snow thrower that's got the short chute. You can see that's just a little shorter than the other one. Most of them I see around are the ones that have this short chute, so I am happy I found that longer chute. This snow thrower mounts here to the front of the tractor, and it uses the front PTO pulley to power it. So obviously we have to remove the mule drive and the mower deck to use this, and of course we're not going to want the mower deck on anyway because that would probably just get us stuck in the snow. So the first step is removing all that. All right, the first thing you got to do to get the mower deck off, pop the grill out. I like to get the hood up, and then you can just pop that out. I'm gonna run through all this pretty quick since this isn't a mower deck video, but thought I would show you the steps since it's part of getting the snowblower on. But now we gotta loosen up the tension on the mule drive here. All right, and then we're going to drop down the wrong way. We can drop down the deck, and then now that the deck is lowered, we can get in here and take the belt off of this pulley. Spin that around there. Lift it off the PTO pulley. Now we can release these J hooks. Do that on both sides. And now the mule drive should just come right off. And now we'll just remove all the pins. Drop the arm off there. I'm starting to lose a little light here, so hopefully you guys can still see this pretty well, but I'm just pulling these pins out here. Get these arms off. And then pulling that out, drop the arms out. And now we'll just slide the deck out. Scratch up the driveway, that's nice. Personally, I missed this step. The first time I used one of these tractors to clear snow, I didn't take these arms off, and then they're just dangling and dragging all over the place. But now I know to take them off, of course. They just slide up. You just gotta slide them up, and then you can pass the peg through that bigger hole there and come right off. Pretty easy. I thought you guys might be interested in how I store this deck for the winter. I just built this simple stand for it, just out of some scrap wood that I had laying around. It's pretty simple. It's just on these casters. This side here swivels, and these ones are just a solid mount. You could go swivel for both, but I thought it'd be easier to move around like that. Otherwise, it's just a simple frame, the long 2x4s, and then held together by the cross supports there, and then these braces on the back. I just put these little pieces down here with a small angle cut in them just to give it a little bit more support. I've been using it for a couple years now, and it seems to be working pretty good. And then it allows me to just wheel it out of the way here. It's been a couple days since that last clip was filmed, and don't you know it, we have snow falling. So I need to get back to this snowblower install real quick. So now that we have the deck out of the way and the mule drive out of the way, we can just slide the snowblower into place. It's one thing I really like about this 300 series. All these attachments connect to the tractor in the same way. So once you learn how to connect one attachment, you know how to do all of them. There is one thing on the snow thrower. You got to make sure this pulley is down out of the way. This is the tensioner pulley, so this will be up when it's in use, putting tension on the belt. But if this is up at all when you're trying to install it, it's going to interfere. So you got to make sure that that's tucked down as low as possible. So now just make sure your pins are pulled out and locked into place. You can start moving it in. Alright, these snowblowers take a little bit more finesse than the front blade does, but if you just work at it and just shimmy it and shake it a little bit, it generally just pops into place. My bottom ones aren't quite all the way in yet, but I think the furniture dolly is now holding it up from swinging down into place. So I'll just lift up on the snow thrower now and then pull that furniture dolly out. Maybe I'll put a couple blocks under it so it doesn't fall all the way down. And then I'm also going to release these pins so if they happen to slide into place, they can lock in. Alright, I'm just gonna throw these under here just so it doesn't fall too far. And as always, if you guys know a more efficient way of putting these snowblowers on, please put down in the comments how you do it. I have my processes, but I know that I'm not always doing things the most efficient way, so what I do works, but of course if there's a better way, then it's good to let people know that. So I'm just gonna pull this out of here now. Alright, now should be able to rock this into place. Okay. Now I know my lower pins are slid down into place. I can remove these and that should tip the whole thing forward and lock those top pins in place. Okay, I got this pin to set into place, but I haven't been able to get this one forward enough. This side needs to come forward about a ½ inch, and I can't get it to budge as it is, so I'm gonna connect the lines and then we can lift it and hopefully get that to set into place. First thing, you gotta get your plugs out of the couplers if they're still in there. Make sure there's no residue or dirt or grime up in your couplers. Those look good. If you're working on one of these closed frame tractors, the older style with the vertical couplers, this will be on your 300, 314, 316K, 317. I think that's it. The rear hose is going to go on the upper coupler. Maybe. Like that. The front hose is going to go on the lower coupler. Like that. If you're working on an open frame tractor that's got the horizontal couplers, then the rear hose is going to go on the inside coupler. The front hose is going to go on the outside coupler, as far as I know. If you have the caps for the end of your hydraulic hoses, it's a good idea to take the plugs from the couplers and stick them into the caps so they don't get all messed up from any snow or ice buildup or just getting dirt on them. That way they'll be nice and clean. When you go to remove the snowblower and put these back in, I, of course, do not have my caps on here, so they're just going to be dangling there getting dirty. This isn't a necessary step for you guys, but I removed the bumper so that I can film this a little bit easier and actually show you guys what's going on here, so you guys will not have to remove this. Before you put the belt on, you got to make sure that this idler pulley is up into place. This is the idler tension lever. Make sure that that is up. When it's in the down position, that's when it's tensioning. So make sure that that's put up. Should get a light probably, huh? Now that you made sure that your lever is up all the way, now you can put the pulley up. You might have to slide it back a little bit because there's a nut on the back side of it here that can get trapped under the snow thrower pulley. So pull back a little bit, lift that up, and now it slides back and forth on the shaft there. So slide it towards the back of the tractor to line it up with the PTO pulley. If your pulley doesn't slide very nicely on the shaft there, you might want to just try and lube that shaft up the best that you can to make this install a little easier. You don't want to have to be fighting with things moving. But now that that pulley is up there, we can put the belt on. As for most things dealing with the front PTO pulley on these tractors, there are different sizes of belts between the open frame and the closed frame tractors. So if you have a 300, 314, 316K, or 317, that's going to be your part number for the snow thrower belt. And then I'll put across the screen right here what the part number is for the open frame model. All right, now you should just be able to guide the belt around the bottom of the snow thrower pulley. Make sure you get it around this tensioner pulley and then spin it onto the PTO pulley. And now you can just push down on the idler pulley lever. Of course, it's going to be a little difficult to do with one hand here. All right, there you go. And sorry, Sorry if I didn't film that very well. The tensioner pulley was hung up on the frame of the tractor back there. So, all right, now that that's free, then puts the tension on the belt there, and that is all ready to go. And I'll throw the bumper and the lines back on, and we'll get to the chute control. I suppose I should let you guys know, because it was way easier to put that belt on with this bumper removed. So if you want to take that off, it's actually pretty easy. You'll just have to do it before you put your lines on. Make sure your caps are out, because the caps are attached to the bumper right there. So pull your caps out of your couplers and then take out these 4 bolts. There, and there. And then that bumper just slides right off. It's really easy, actually. So, and that makes it a ton easier to get that belt on. But again, it's not necessary. Just thought I would let you know. But now we can move on to the chute rotation rod. It just goes into this slot on the side of the tractor there. This is the first time I will be using this snow thrower with this tractor. Usually I put this snow thrower on my 318, but I'm going to be doing some work to that over the winter. So I think I am going to use this big bolt that's in the bracket here. So I'm just going to drill out this one a little bit bigger and put this one in there. If that'll work, we'll see. The way that they connect to the 318 is a little different. I can show you that. This is where that chute control bracket would be bolted on the 318. There's like an offset plate that bolts to where this screen bolts on. I'll put a picture of it right here, because I cannot seem to find mine right now. So but yeah, it mounts the same way. You just have to have that separate bracket piece that goes across here that the bracket on the arm will slide into. Okay, I put this up and line that up there. I decided I'm just going to use a longer bolt and then a washer to do this, instead of drilling this out and putting the bigger bolt in there, because this bolt here holds on the battery tray and I don't want to modify that at all. So I'm just going to take this bolt out and try not to drop it. There we go. Now we got that bolt out of there. To get a longer bolt in there, I'm gonna have to loosen up the battery and twist it 90 degrees, I think. Might be the best way to do it. All right, I got the battery moved out of the way a little bit. Now, get that bolt up into place. It's a carriage bolt, so it's got a square on it there to hold it in place. Now, slide that into place. Now I'm hoping this one washer, this is kind of hard to do with one person here, but try to get whops. Never see that again. All right. Oh, I'm seeing it. Just like that. So easy. And now that's how the chute is controlled. Now, one last thing before we test this snow thrower out, I just want to take this cover off and inspect the chain, make sure that that's still tight and that everything looks good in there. So we just gotta take a few, Jesus Christ, take a few nuts off here. I got the chain cover off, so now we can inspect in here. The tension sprocket is all the way down in its adjustment, so right now it looks like we're okay. It's getting a little on the loose end, I think. So without there being any more adjustment, I think I'm going to go ahead and order a new chain. And maybe I'm doing a sprocket change on this too. So I'm going to go ahead and order some new stuff for this. But for right now, I think it's within spec enough to use it. And the chain seems to be in good condition as far as being lubed up, and the sprockets don't look too badly worn. So I think this would even last another season, but to be on the safe side, I'm going to go ahead and order some of this stuff up, and then maybe in another video I'll show how to replace all this stuff. But for now, I'm just going to put this cover back on, and then we should be all set to try it out. There's the cover back on, and now we'll just throw the grill back in place real quick. Okay, I got the snow thrower all on. I believe everything looks good. Everything checked out all right. So I think it's time to try it out. Okay, there we go. Whoops. Man, it is cold out here, but I got that snow thrower on, ready to go. I took it out a little bit, make sure the hydraulics went up and down and all that. Everything appears to be good, but I know with that extra weight on the front and in slippery conditions, this thing is not going to have any traction as is. So let's correct that. I've got these wheel weights here, and then we have some chains we can put on, so let's get to that. All right, I think it's pretty self-explanatory on how these wheel weights go on, but I did want to show something kind of cool that the previous owner that I got these wheel weights from did. I think from John Deere, these come with carriage bolts to through bolt them. Because it's got square holes in the wheels, and I believe the carriage bolts lock into those, and then you can tighten up the nuts on the outside. The previous owner did not have those, or did not want to use them anymore for some reason, I don't know, but they instead use just a threaded rod, and then they've got a bolt on the inside of the wheel that locks into place with this jam nut, and then bolts on the outside through there. So you just put the threaded rod through there, get your depth set right, lock it in place, and then you can just put the wheel on right over the bolts and then bolt it on, and you don't have to worry about the wheel weight falling out or anything while you're trying to get the carriage bolt in there, or the others, any other sort of bolt that you have. But I just thought that was kind of a cool idea, so let's get this on there. They did make these threaded rods about 3 inches too long, I think. So you do have to thread on the nut quite a ways. So now I got those threaded rods in place, and I just gotta make sure you get it lined up. So this opening is where your valve stem is. There, that makes it pretty easy to get that on there. And so now I just gotta get the chains over here and get those on. All right, these chains go on pretty easy. Just throw them up over the tire like that. Make sure they're kind of centered. You do have to roll them forward a little bit though. And then you go on the inside of your tire. Get a little more light back here. The inside here isn't adjustable, so you just put it on the tightest link that you can. Just like that, it's hooked on. It's a little bit extra there. That's hooked on as tight as possible. And then you come back to the outside. And then there's a turnbuckle here. Now I got this turnbuckle adjusted out as far as possible. So now we can just connect it to the end of the chain there. And then just tighten it up. Just get it as tight as possible by hand. And then I come grab my wrench. So I'll get this tightened up as best as I can, and then I'll use the tractor for a little bit, make sure I go back and forth a few times, and then I'll recheck this and make sure it's still tight, because these chains will move around a little bit once it gets used a little. There you go, those are pretty nice and tight. Now I know I'll have plenty of traction in the snow. I'll just gotta do the same thing to the other side, and then we'll wrap this up. And that's how I get my tractor all set up to use for the winter. There are some things that I need to upgrade about this snowblower, so if you don't want to miss those, please hit that subscribe button. I was driving it around last night a little bit and I turned the lights on and it just lit up the chute and I couldn't see past it really, so I'm going to be putting some extra lights on this. I tried to use it with this heavier snow. It wasn't throwing it very good, so I'm going to do a sprocket upgrade on it. So I have a ton more coming up. If you enjoyed the video, please hit that like button and we'll see you next time. I've never seen such a rinky-dink operation in my life. Okay.